Good evening, and this evening we're going to begin the concurrent meeting of School Administrative Unit Number 12, the School Board and the Londonderry School District Board on August 29th, 2006 at 7:02. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd ask Kate Davidson to lead us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And for those of you that are wondering, I asked Kate to lead the pledge this evening because she'll be leaving our building here and the Union Leader and going on to the Concord Monitor. This will be her last meeting, so I thought it'd be nice to have her lead us in that since we can't buy her any cookies. The first thing on the agenda this evening, under questions and announcements, we have Steve Lungo from MetLife, and I'd ask him to come forward and to address the community.
Thank you. Sit.
Just talk into the microphone. If you'd like to stand, all you need to do is put the microphone up on the counter.
My name's Steve Lungo. I'm with MetLife Resources. I'm here to acknowledge one of your teachers in your school system. In 1993, MetLife and the National Association of Secondary School Principals started a program where, on a state-by-state basis, they would acknowledge one high school principal and one middle school principal. And this has grown to be an area where it's very significant recognition, and it's a nice award to have. All the award winners get to go down to Washington, D.C., have a banquet, receive their award. And this year, to cut to the chase, the winner in the state of New Hampshire from Londonderry High School is Mr. James Elefante. I'd like to present you with this. It's a little bit big, so I'll lay it out here. Hold one side up for me.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. Hang proudly in your school.
Thank you very much. And we just found out, hopefully this had nothing to do with me winning, but we're both from Oceanside, Long Island, and I graduated 1 year before him.
Oh.
Kidding.
Not much over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, when I was told about this, I was told it was a banner. I didn't hear about the all-expense-paid trip.
Some things remain secrets.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Those weren't the keys to the city, were they?
Not Washington,
All right. Anyone else have announcements, questions? One thing that I would like to bring up is last week on Tuesday and Thursday, we toured the schools, and the board, the press, the majority of the budget committee, and citizens attended on those tours, and I thought it was an extremely interesting opportunity. The one thing that caught my attention was the cleanliness of the schools. As we entered, and this happened at Matthew Thornton, as we entered the school, the custodian there was so proud of his work. He was absolutely beaming. And at one point, he asked if we wanted him to turn the lights on in the gym, and all I could think of is, oh my gosh, that's going to use so much electricity. No, don't bother. And you could see his heart break that we weren't going to turn the lights on and see the floor there. So I had asked the district office to just provide me with, and I would like to read the names into the record of the head custodians and the day custodian down at Moose Hill. At Londonderry High School, we have David LaCroix. Is that Lacrosse? Bob Blanchett at the middle school. Charlie Wilton at Matthew Thornton, Bill Saylor at North, and at South we have Ed Adams. And as a day custodian, working with Chuck, we have Michael Munson at Moose Hill. And speaking of Chuck Zappola, he manages the 650,000 square feet that houses our students each and every day, and does an incredible job of keeping the largest business in Londonderry working. Anyone else? Questions? Announcements? The next meeting is September 5th in this room at 7 o'clock. And following that, we have a meeting September 19th at 7 o'clock in this room, both regular meetings. And I have a consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the consent agenda.
So moved.
A motion from Dan and second from Paul. And we have a motion on the consent agenda, Ron, just so you know. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. The committee boards, reports, liaisons. Michael, we'll start with you.
Alright, today we did a freshman orientation. We had about 500, I think, new freshmen coming in. So, student council was helping along with the teachers. They had the teachers who had the freshmen in classes all came in, and they bussed them in. Actually, drove by one who was waiting for his bus. It was kind of funny. But so they bussed them in, and they all went to class. Only the classes were about 10 minutes long, and they all found their lockers, and everything went pretty well. Then after that, they all went home on their buses after a little Italian ice. There we go. And then they went home, and the student council helped out moving overheads back to classrooms and TVs, and they also helped move some textbooks around that were left in storage. So that's pretty much it so far. Yeah.
We saw the buses all lined up at school today. Just a note on that, too, is we enter the school year again. Parents and community members should be extremely careful of the school zones and the school buses and stopping for the yellow lights and all that. So you said that somebody was waiting for their bus and the bus drove by them?
No, I was just I was driving because I always take the bus, and
Okay.
it was kind of funny because I'm never actually going to do that. So I just one day saw him go by.
But one point, you were a freshman.
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
You did take the bus.
And had to take the bus.
I still take the bus.
Okay. Okay, great. Pat Slozak, Mrs. Slozak, sorry.
Thank you. The teaching staff has started their work year yesterday with an opening meeting with the superintendent and a nice continental breakfast, so thank you, Mr. Greenberg, for that. The teachers have been very busy attending meetings with their school administrators, with the special ed people, and their teams to get ready for the school year. They're meeting new parents, readying classrooms, and things of that sort. The new teachers went to the Induction Institute last Thursday, and their focus was on classroom environment and the first few days of school, the opening days. And the reading pilot teachers were also involved in training today for a few hours to get that program up and running over the next few weeks. Let's see. Just a little aside, it goes back to the last meeting about summer school. I had a mom come in today with her daughter, who's going to be in my class this year, and she raved about the summer school program and just thought it was such an excellent way for her daughter to keep up on her skills. So the feedback is still coming back, and I'm sure that we'll hear that throughout the school year from other parents and their children. Tomorrow we have a lunch courtesy of the school board, so we're going to thank you in advance. We're all going to be hungry, so we're ready for that. And probably the highlight of our day today was a song that was sung by Mrs. Ballard on copyright responsibilities. So thank you, Mrs. Ballard, for making our day. And
Who's going to sing it
Well,
tonight?
yeah, can she repeat it?
you have to hum along. She did a great job. Yeah.
I'm sorry, if you'd like to
She did-
speak,
she
you'll
did
need to
great.
come to the microphone.
Doesn't want to speak.
I'm sorry, so you'll get the words for later. I think having that as a teaser for the end of the meeting would be great. We can keep people tuned in.
Sorry, Mrs. Ballard. Oh, she's really gonna go get
Karaoke
it.
it on the wall.
All
All right.
Andy is here, so he can accompany you on.
I apologize now for bringing that up.
She's gonna kill you.
I know. We'd always gotten along so well up to this point.
There was the outside door we just heard.
She heard the car start, yeah. And if I can just do one more little aside, as a member of the Old Home Day Committee, I would like to thank the school district for their support in making Old Home Day such a wonderful celebration this year by allowing us to use facilities. It really helps out tremendously. And also thank you to Superintendent Greenberg and Principal Sakili for doing the honors at the parade and announcing the people that were in the parade. So I hear you behave most of the time. So thank you very much. The committee thanks you. That's it.
Thank you. George?
Thank you, Steve. The one thing that I want to update is the Communications Committee had put a survey out at Old Home Day, and we had 31 people took the time to respond to that. And just in brief summation, most folks feel that they receive a sufficient amount of information through the district. They continue to cite local newspapers, the school and organizational newsletters, and the website as their main sources of information. One of the things that Mr. Campo had asked us to ask about was the PayPal feature of the food service, and the results of that indicate that not many folks are aware of it. And there were folks that spoke directly with the personnel at the booth to indicate that not only were they surprised, but they were glad to learn of the option. They suggested that we publicize it more, so what we're going to do is Mr. Currow and Ms. Ballard will develop a press release and postings for Leo 21 to get more information out about that option of the food service. So those are a couple things, and that was a very quick turnaround, Sue. Thank you very much for getting us that information. And that would be it, Mr. Chair.
Great. Paul?
Let's see, I think the main thing was the South School Space Committee has met a couple times since our last board meeting. And a couple weeks ago, we met at South School and took a tour and discussed plans for the next few months. I think we are pointing towards a recommendation to the board in, say, mid-November, Dan, is that right?
That's correct.
So we are working on lists, trying to identify areas that should be addressed, and we'll be discussing those over the next couple of meetings. I think we'll be meeting every couple of weeks. I guess there was a meeting, tour at North School last night.
Right.
I'll leave that to you to comment on, Dan. I guess you made that. And that's all I have.
Ron?
Nothing?
Dan?
As Paul said, we had the South School Building Committee or Space Needs Committee, excuse me, had a tour of North School yesterday relative to what we did up there, and thank Rich for providing an excellent tour. One thing I would like to indicate, and I assume we'll get it out in the communication, is there's an open house at North School for all citizenry of Londonderry, or anybody else wants to come. October 15th, I believe, is it not, Rich? That's a Sunday, and I'm sure that will be publicized and made available to the community through the papers, and all's invited. And one of the things that I found somewhat interesting is, and I have to say, when I was much younger, I didn't go through the schools either, but some of the South School parents hadn't been in North School before. So they were kind of amazed at what we had done up there. So I think it would be imperative for those listening at home there in the south side of the community to take advantage of the October 15th tour, or catch up with Rich, and he'd be happy to give you a tour at his convenience too, I would assume. So there you go. That's all I got. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Dan. I had the honor of presenting to the entire staff in the gymnasium a few days ago. And frankly, it's pretty amazing For those of you that are familiar with our gym, when the bleachers are pulled out, the staff for this school, the administrators, teachers, assistants, custodians, maintenance, and support staff fill all of the bleachers in the gym. And I've got to tell you, it's a pretty amazing sight to see the size of the machine that the school system is in this town. And the commitment that pours out of these people is just amazing. The citizens of Londonderry are very, very lucky that they have the teaching staff that's committed to the community as much as they are. Right. Nate, we're slightly ahead of schedule. Into superintendent's report. If we do, let's make sure we don't cut them all the way off.
Well, this next person doesn't need a lot of introduction. Our director of music, Andy Susi. Last year, between directing, teaching, organizing festivals, parades, and so forth, Andy directed the music department, elementary through high school, in examining our benchmarks in the area of music. And they spent better part of the year last year at early release days, teacher workshop days, in revamping the benchmarks from elementary through high school. He made several presentations along with teachers of music at the Curriculum Council, and he's here this evening to present to the school board.
Good evening. Thank you very much. What I'll do is I've highlighted some things I would just like to cover, and I would like to start with the elementary. And the starting off with performance, the areas we'd like to obviously stress at the first grade would be performing and singing versus speaking voice and things of that nature, as well as keeping a steady beat, various rhythm patterns, and regarding pitched and non-pitched instruments. Non-pitched instruments would be like a drum, something like that. A pitched instrument would be an instrument that would actually carry a different note, like a xylophone, a small xylophone, or items such as that. Listening and responding to music to describe and to evaluate. Even though they're first graders, they can express themselves in simple ways, what they like, what they don't like, and make judgments. Also listening and responding to music to identify some of the basic elements as well. And as far as appreciation goes, we give them basic elements and principles of music, including simple note reading, appropriate to their grade level. And so we get them started very early with that. With grade 2, in the performance areas, a little bit of posture and singing more songs, obviously. Also to maintain a steady beat, as we said before, a lot of these things are ongoing. They're continuous items, which are right up through secondary level, in fact. We introduce them to ensemble playing, where they're in small groups, playing in class, accompanying their classmates. Performance would be the item 3 I'm looking at right now, improvising rhythms, give them a chance to express some creativity. In listening and responding, they would describe and evaluate, again, musical performances, as well as identify and discuss the basic elements at a commensurate level with their grade. Appreciation, identifying music symbols, including simple note reading again, simple note reading, and then compare and contrast as well. Grade 3, again, a continuation. Regarding performance, again, more vocal technique. Performing, again, on different instruments, again, pitched and non-pitched. The pieces become more complex, so to speak. Improvising rhythms, again, and movements as well. Listening and performing. Responding rather, they would describe and evaluate, as well as discuss the basic elements. And appreciation, again, continuation of the elements and the principles of music, including simple note reading, and then appreciation, contrast and compare, and as well as introducing history, where they can compare and help identify the purpose of music, how it's used to serve in different cultures of the world,
and things along that line. And grade 4. Again, performance, vocal techniques continues to be an important stress. And as well as the introduction of recorder playing. All the students are playing recorder, learning note rhythm, and learning it to apply it. Maintaining steady beat, rhythm patterns. The rhythms become more complicated. Improvisation again. Describing and evaluating the quality of music. Identify, discuss the basic elements. The various principles of music. Note reading becomes more complicated, up to eighth notes at this point. And compare and contrast elements and music history, identify and compare the purpose music serves in several cultures in the world. I think that was supposed to be in the world. And level 5, and then we'll talk about elementary for a second. Again, continuation, proper vocal technique, more recorder, work with recorder and other instruments, note reading, improvisation, creativity, composition, notation of music, and evaluating the quality of musical performances, as well as more work with describing the elements of the emotions of music, and note reading and other things of that nature. And again, appreciation and music history are also involved for the, commensurate with their grade level. So these are the things that we work with the elementary level in the one period a week that we have these students. And again, it starts as the different concepts are introduced, it progresses, and it becomes an ongoing area of development. What I'd like to do is proceed with the middle school if I could. All right. With the middle school, I'd like to start off with general music. We have 3 levels of general music, grades 6, 7, and 8. In performance area, for instance, in general music, the students would learn basic finger positions for the C major scale because they all play a keyboard instrument. They all do play an instrument, so that's an important thing. Reading and notation, define standard notation symbols, pitch, rhythm, dynamics, and tempo. Also, listening and responding, basic principles of meter, rhythm, intervals, chords, harmonic progressions for a variety of music works. Describing and distinguishing characteristics of musical works from various styles. Culturally, identify and compare purpose of music serves and in several cultures of the world, and careers, which we think is important to survey the range of careers in the field of music. Grade 7 general music includes a lot of the same things to a further step, except one of the big ones is that now they're playing in 2 keys. They'll be playing in key of C and G on the keyboard. Again, further notation, further vocabulary, further experience in listening and responding, including cultural awareness and careers as well. And grade 8 would be playing in key of C, G, and F, as well as spending more time recognizing the basic principles of meter, rhythm, intervals, chords, and harmonic progressions in a variety of musical works and things of that nature. From general music, I'm going to switch over to beginning band. These are students. We offer beginning band at the 6th grade and the 7th grade. We don't offer it at the 8th grade. At that point, they probably, if they're not going to do it, which is fine, they would have done so by now. So for beginning band, in performance, demonstrate an understanding of proper tone production on various musical works at the grade level 1. Now, there's a standard that we use out there called the NISMA standard. That's the New York State Music Association. It's a nationally known standard. It's 1 through 6, 6 being collegiate level stuff. And what we are doing at the middle school is striving to towards a level 1 for first year musicianship or 6th grades. Even though 6th grade begins like instrumentally at the middle school, at the elementary school is grade 5. All right, it's still the goal for the 6th graders to be able to really play comfortably a grade level 1. So I will refer to these numbers over the next few pages. Reading notation, again, standard notation reading of symbols, pitch, rhythm, dynamics, articulation, etc. For music at grade level 1, for reading and notation, listening and responding to music, again, at level 1. listening and responding to music, describe and evaluate the quality of music, again, an important thing. And also to describe distinguishing characteristics of musical works from various styles. Culturally, to identify and compare the purpose music serves in several cultures, and survey the range of careers in the field of music. Again, there's repetition, but this is ongoing, you know, and when we talk about cultural and lessons and cultural experiences and activities, it's obviously going to be much more involved, much more significant at the middle school level than it would be at the elementary level, and likewise from the secondary level. Beginning band, again, for grade 7, it's pretty much the same as grade 6, because they're beginners. So we go for the grade level 1 on performance and reading notation and the different things we just spoke about. The next area is band, grades 6, 7, and 8. Again, with grade 6, a lot of this would be equivalent to the beginning band, except that, I'll be honest, the students have already had a 5th grade experience, so they're going to excel a lot quicker. So we say a grade 1 or higher. Sometimes we can get up to a grade 2 area for some pieces, and other times we can't. But but that's the goal, is to get them at least a good solid 1 and higher if possible. Again, reading and notation, define standard notation for a grade level 2, grade level 1 or higher, and same thing with music and listening, listening and responding to music, culture, and careers. With grade 7, the same goal is extended to through a grade level 2 or higher. Again, sometimes you've got a 7th grade group that's really motivated, that can really push, push the charts, and they can deliver a higher level of music. And same thing with reading and notation, listening and responding to music, a grade level 2 or higher for 7th grade band. And for 8th grade band, the goal is a grade 3. Grade 3 or higher. If you have that excellent group, and you can push that, more power to you. And we find some groups sometimes very motivated and can do that. So those are the band goals. And there's a parallel to that. The next group I want to talk about would be the choral guidelines, and that would be, again, grades 6, 7, and 8. For instance, in performance, a grade level 1 for 6th grade as well. Reading and notation, grade level 1 or higher. And listening and responding to music, grade level 1 or higher. Listening and responding to music, describe distinguishing characteristics of the different styles, including sacred, secular, and patriotic music, cultural experiences, and also careers. And again, grade 7 would be a level 2, and grade 8 would be a level 3. A lot of this is repetitious because it's just that to us, performance is either singing or playing an instrument. We don't expect our students to do both. I mean, in the elementary, they will all sing, but when it comes to instrumental at the middle school and secondary level, we kind of branch out and specialize. Either they're into the vocal area or they're into the instrumental area. Orchestra, same thing. Grade 6 would be a level 1 of performance. Grade 7 would be a level 2, and grade 8 would be a level 3. We don't really offer beginning strings at that level. And by the way, you might be interested to know that we do allow students at the 4th grade level. We give them a head start on the band instruments, and that has worked out very well for us over the years. And for grade 11, which is just it's high school. It could be 9th grade. It could be 12th grade. Performance, perform alone. Again, could be singing, could be performing. A grade level, we say grade level 3 or higher. Most of our stuff is grade 4 and higher. But if we have a situation where students aren't quite ready for that, or maybe they're just not as experienced, we built that in. Careers, again, very important thing for us to have our students know what the career opportunities are. We talk about that in every opportunity that we get. In performance, again, through 16th notes and the equivalent rest. Most of them can do more than that, but we feel this is a good baseline for us. Also, to perform major scales as well as basic chords, to know and identify all their instruments, all their notes, whether it be treble clef or bass clef. We expect them to know both at that point in time, whether you're just a bass clef musician or a treble clef musician. Reading and notation, again, sound, harmony, rhythm, form is important, melody lines. Vocabulary, very important to us, and listening and responding to music, including historical significance, form, and medium, and making connections between music and various eras and cultures is important to us, and same with, and this last one, knowing the lyrics of the Star Spangled Banner. That was a national initiative this past year, and on the 4th of July, on Good Morning America, they had this giant singing of the national anthem, I've been asking the lyrics, people to write these down on their final exams for a number of years now, because I just think it's an important thing to do. So we just wanted to put that down because, there are other important cultural songs, but I just think that that's one that needs to be underscored. So it's been a number of stimulating conversations going back and forth, talking about these different things. Everyone has passion about, we got to do this, we got to do that. So this has been a great exercise for us as a department. And when we meet, we find the conversation to be upbeat and very positive and very aggressive. So I present these to you tonight for your consideration.
Questions for Andy? Dan?
Andy, we've had benchmarks for quite some time now. Have there been constant revisions to them, or how do we, is this the Bible that's going to be there forever? Or?
No. I think what you're going to have is there'll always be tweaking done. I think there'll always be another look at it. I think that, it's a work in progress. We're comfortable with these, and in a couple of years we'll probably say, we should have done this, we should have done that, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's important, and but I think in essence, I think we've got ourselves a good foundation.
Solid
here.
foundation.
Something we want to build from.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions for Andy? Andy, was the person that sang the national anthem at Old Home Day, was that one of your students?
Yes, she was one of my clarinet players who couldn't mark. No, I'm just kidding. Her name is, you know what? I can't believe it. Mimi's daughter, Megan McCann, Mimi's daughter. Mimi, mom is on our executive board. She's our secretary. And she's a very, very nice young lady, a terrific musician. And when she said she was going to be singing the national anthem, I think that's an honor. I really, really do. So that's great. And I heard she did very well. I was back at the middle school, but I heard she did a nice job.
Yeah, it's replaying right now on the cable television
I
channels.
caught part of it. Yeah, that's great. That's great. That was a nice day. Perfect weather.
It was, and the bands were impressive too. Dan?
Andy, I'm not ashamed to say my musical ignorance. What's the word ostinati mean?
Ostinati would be a...
Nobody else up here knows either,
No, it's
but
okay.
I thought it was an Italian sports car.
I thought it was like Gujarati language.
Ostinati is a repeated pattern of notation. It could be in a bass line. You could have an ostinato bass. You could have an ostinato in the upper voices. It's a repeated passage that you hear over and over again, and from that, you hear the other voices, coming out melodically.
So in third grade, we learn how to speak like that? That's
Well, I think
that's
they-
pretty good.
I think they know it. They know it's a repeated pattern. I think they recognize that
great.
it's, it has a repetition to it. And
So I learned something tonight. Thank
there
you.
you go.
Ron?
Andy, why don't you tell the audience the size that we're talking about the band? Because we were over in the auditorium and you told me how many members of the band are at the high school this year. And you kind of blew me away with that. I don't know if you have the numbers for the middle school there.
Yeah,
Also.
I've got a few figures I can pass
Let the
along.
public- this is just not a few kids. It's just amazing, and every year it keeps going up more and more.
Well, it's funny because they say after you do the Rose Bowl parade, the numbers go down, enrollment goes down. It has never happened. It's gone up time and time again. Right now, we just completed band camp last week. We have 335 students in the band this year, and in addition to that, there are 3 football players who find they can't do the halftime show because they're with the team. But 335 people on the field, and we learned an entire drill in 4 days. So that shows you what's happening at the high school. Now that's a pretty good sized band. That's collegiate size. I think UMass Amherst is like 350, and we're not too far from that. And the next largest size band that we know of is 205, and they're another town. And the point is, you have to work harder when you're that large, because, you know, if we just took our 100 best musicians there, you know, it would be a whole different ensemble. But these kids have a wonderful attitude and a wonderful spirit. And we had their inaugural performance was last Thursday afternoon at 3:30. And the place behind the high school was packed, and they had popcorn and they had ice cream for the spectators, and people came in at 2:30 to watch, and it was just, I've never seen it like this. This is the best year we've ever had. Even the seniors were saying, this is the best camp we've ever had, and they're going on. And it starts, obviously, in the 5th grade. The middle school, the 6th grade band is probably, you know, close to 180, and I'd say between 160 to 180, and I believe each grade level, just band, is that number. I'm not sure about the beginning band, but these are large numbers, and they don't all sign up for band as an 8th grader, but it's a good thing, because we wouldn't be able to accommodate. We have about 90 of the freshmen coming in from the middle school program. So I don't know if that helps or not. The middle school, the elementary school numbers for band are between, again, 60 and 80 maybe, something like that. So they're pretty significant numbers. Strings, another large area. When I know what you're talking about, Ron, and when you talk about like a stage, when we combine these bands, they're large groups. They really, really are large groups. And it's a good thing they're good kids, but otherwise we wouldn't be able to do the things we do.
One other thing too, to put the number of the band in perspective with the high school, that's about 18% of the high school enrollment is in the band.
When you look at the middle school with a population of just about 450, 460, and 180 are in the band, that's a significant number too in 2 grades. So it makes scheduling a little bit more of a nightmare to figure out who goes where to make sure you divide up the band players. But no, it's a major program in town, and I just wanted you to get out the number of students, because we tend to forget about that. We say the band, and 335 is just huge. I mean,
It is. It's an unbelievable number. We're traveling in 9 buses and a truck every time we go to an away game, and that's quite a, it's a production. It really is. Also, with the middle school, if I could for a second, we have, if you stop and consider all the students that are in either the choral performing program or the strings or instrumental, I think it's like somewhere between 85 and 90%. Now that's a terrific, awfully large number, percentage-wise, of students that are actually doing performance, and I think it's a really exciting statistic. And from year to year, we look at the stats and we just say, okay, what is it this year? And it's always up there. It's always up there. So we really have terrific people. We really do. Right across the board, I think we're fortunate. So, and we thank you for your support, because you folks are always there for us.
Thank you.
thank you.
So, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy.
The next piece of the benchmarks this evening that we're presenting, Cindy Freiberger has been working with the high school math department probably over the last couple of years in revamping the high school mathematics benchmarks to better align with the national standards in math, as well as the state's grade span expectations. What she has this evening to present to the board is the Algebra 2 benchmarks that was discussed at C3 this past spring. So I'll turn it over to Cindy.
Thank you. There is a segue. Math and music do go hand in hand, so there's a good segue there. Before you are 12 benchmarks that we've written for Algebra 2. And these 12 benchmarks are applicable to all levels of Algebra 2 that are taught at Londonderry High School. And in developing, as Mark said, in developing these benchmarks, we looked very closely at the NCTM, the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, their standards. We looked at the New Hampshire grade span expectations from the state of New Hampshire. We also looked at the College Board, because as you might remember, that as of March 2005, our students took the new SAT, and the new SAT was putting more focus on Algebra 2. And so we were looking at that also, as to make sure that regardless of what level our students are in, if a Londonderry graduate has taken Algebra 2, this is the essence that they will walk away with, the information that they're going to walk away with. We also looked at, because I came to you probably a year ago, and we've brought to you benchmarks for pre-algebra, Algebra 1, and geometry. So we also looked at what we had been teaching our students up until the point that they got to Algebra 2, so that there was that progression, that we felt good about that. And so this is what we have for you.
Questions from the board? Dan?
Cindy, I'll ask the same question. These are the revised benchmarks. What did we change?
If you remember back, we used to have one set of benchmarks for all math, and they were very, very basic. And they were almost like exit benchmarks, that it would be the most basic. And now what I'm looking at is we're looking at individual classes to have benchmarks that go along with those. And according to our strategic plan, we've put in the strategic plan, I probably will be coming next year with pre-calculus to bring to you.
Okay,
Just
great.
to add to Cindy's feedback, Dan, what the high school math department has been doing the last couple of years, they've been developing benchmarks for Algebra 1, algebra concepts, basic math, to basically set those benchmarks to align them more closely to the courses rather than a general sweeping benchmarks that previously existed.
Dan?
So the presentation, Mark, that we had maybe 2-3 meetings ago, where Andy Corey was talking about the math curricula that's going to be put in at the middle school, the algebra component of that, is it going to follow the same component or the same benchmarks as this program?
If both the algebra classes, the Algebra 1 at the middle school,
Right.
algebra at the high school, they both have the same curriculum, the same text.
So the answer would be yes, it'd be the
Yes,
same benchmarks.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome.
Cindy, don't go away. We may have people who are watching who have not had kids go to the high school yet, or they're in middle school. Could you just take a couple of minutes to let the viewing audience know what the normal math sequence is and what math programs, what math courses we offer at the high school and the options that we offer at the high school?
Okay. I would say that the bulk of our students that come to Londonderry High School start out in Algebra 1. And they have the opportunity as freshmen to be in Algebra 1. As sophomores, they go to geometry. As juniors, they go to Algebra 2. And as seniors, we have pre-calculus. We used to call it trig and analysis. So if you have students that have graduated in the past few years, you've heard the trig and analysis. Well, when we looked at the curriculum for trig and analysis, we realized it was pre-calc. And a lot of colleges, when they look at transcripts, they like to see the words pre-calc there. So we thought that that was a bonus to our students to be able to, it's the same curriculum pretty much, we just titled it a little differently. So that would be the majority of our students would go in that sequence right there. We also have students that will come in and they'll go the pre-algebra, and then where they go from there really depends upon their abilities. They can go to Algebra 1 and follow then that same route, not getting to pre-calc, getting to Algebra 2. They could also go into, we have a conceptual level also, depending upon their skills. But we're following along also because the state of New Hampshire's minimum graduation requirements require that all students graduate with Algebra 1 under their belt. And we've made sure that in our basic level, we worked a lot over the summertime to make sure that students that are on that conceptual level, they will have been well grounded in Algebra 1 when they finally finish. If they only stay in mathematics for 3 years, which is our graduation requirement, they will have that Algebra 1 under their belt when they go on to whatever they want to pursue after high school. Then we have the other route that students come in and they go to advanced geometry. So they'll go advanced geometry, they'll go to Algebra 2 trig. From there they go to pre-calc, which is typically our honors pre-calc, and then from there they'll go to AP calculus.
Questions from the board?
Just one more item. In one of the presentations last year, we saw a nice chart that explained everything where we're going and what the options are available to all the students. Do we have that on our webpage?
Ron, it's in the program of studies, and the program of studies is on the webpage.
Yeah, but I guess my problem is in the program of studies, it kind of gets lost.
Okay.
I think it's a good spot, and I don't think a middle school parent would be looking at the high school program of studies. I think we do a wonderful job. Andy back there is improved the math program. Yeah, I'd like to see the graph up there in math options type of deal, because I think it's a real good program that we offer. It's a good story.
Yeah.
For the last 3 or 4 years or 5 years, we've shown that we've improved the quality of the math program in Londonderry. Well, I think we should advertise it so that people can see it. What the options are from first grade as you go in, it's basic courses, and then you start to get into the options in the 4th and 5th grade, and they're going to the options in the middle school, and then it just explodes at the high school. So I think that should be on the webpage so people can see it. I mean, the information is what they need to have.
We're also looking at, Ron, sometime this year, similar to what we did with the literacy, having a TV spot that John Connolly facilitated. We're also looking at doing a program similar to that in the area of mathematics this year to get on Leo 21. So I think that'll be a nice thing to do too.
Excellent. Thank you.
You went through the tracks. What about students that are on a vocational track? For instance, those that might be going to Manchester or other vocational schools. What do they?
The beauty of our math program is you never know where their abilities are and where they're going to land. So we have students that are going to MST and to Elverin that could actually be they're in the honors track. All depends upon where their strengths lie.
Okay.
Steve, you raise a good point. It is conceivable if a youngster wants to, and they're going to MST, to get 4 years of math at the high school. So they could get 4 years in, depending on their levels, their desire, and their ability. So it doesn't curtail them in that regard.
Well, for a person who solves for X every day and does proportions in a trade, I appreciate what you've done.
Thank you very much.
Cindy, thank you very much.
And the last presentation on the benchmark revisions tonight, Sue Ballard is here tonight to discuss the work of the library media and technology folks have done as far as updating our benchmarks in the area of information, computer technology, and she'll talk a little bit about the work of Action Research that led to these changes.
Yes. Well, we have had our information literacy technology benchmarks in place for some time, and in the past several years, and I think we've discussed this with the board, we certainly have discussed it with the C3 committee and with our fellow educators, our ongoing concern about how the information world has changed, and our students are struggling with how they can access and use that information ethically. Citing sources, being able to use web-based or electronic resources. And so as a consequence, not last year, but the year before, we did a survey of our middle school and our high school students, and we also asked our teachers at the middle school and high school to participate in that survey to kind of get a snapshot of where our students were and what we could do to improve our practice to help them along the lines of being more ethical users of information, how to cite sources, and the like. As a result of that, we started to think that maybe we were a little too late out of the gate in terms of the way the information landscape has changed, and some of our younger students are very savvy users of technology, and that we needed to kind of get to them too. So the Jean Sand at Matthew Thornton and Marie Parker at North School, the two library media specialists, worked very closely with Stella Skorpowski at Matthew Thornton School and got some assistance from, I believe it was Katie Lasser, Melissa Kerner, and Maureen McKay, two teachers at Matthew Thornton, and Maureen, of course, at Matthew Thornton. And they worked with fifth graders last year on an action research project entitled, Is This Okay, Is This Not Okay? And they modified the instruments that we had used with our middle school and high school students to make the language a little more kid-friendly. And they did quite a great project. I think Mark has made available a copy for you to see some of the data that they collected. And as luck would have it, as serendipity would have it, a parent stepped up to the plate, attorney Terry Zano from Londonderry, a copyright attorney who was also working with them on this project. And we learned that our students really want to do the right thing, but that they're a little confused and that we do need to start working with them at a younger age to make them aware of what the concept of copyright is, what intellectual property is, and in the information age, that's the point of the realm. So we have made suggestions, actually the three elementary library media specialists have made suggestions here about moving from our current benchmarks to benchmarks, grades 1 through 5, that begin at a much earlier age to introduce these concepts to our students. And I think they've done a great job to find the gaps that we had. These benchmarks originally were predicated on the National Standards for Information Literacy from the American Library Association and on the National Educational Technology Standards for Students from the International Society for Technology and Education. So we had a good baseline, but based on what we know we need to do in Londonderry, we feel that they certainly need to be modified. And so most of the changes, we're moving from, you can see on the PowerPoint that's being displayed, not a PowerPoint, the PDF that's being displayed here, you can see that we've just started to begin to add some of those concepts at grade 1 up through grade 5, because as they currently stand, we do not even touch this issue really in our benchmarks until grade 7. We are also looking to modify the benchmarks at the middle school, and we'll be making some changes there too. But we'd really like to get underway as soon as the kids come to us to start working on these things. And I would say too, in the conclusions that our action research has found, the students are really interested in this. And again, they really do want to do the right thing, and I think that's exciting to think that they're ready to hear this message and that we have an opportunity to help them understand it better.
Yeah.
Hey, Sue, in grade 5, the very first bullet action item there, determine the information needed to solve a problem. Could you give me an example of what that means?
That's really learning how to ask a good question.
Oh.
To, identify what is my information problem, or what is my intellectual problem that I need to find information about. And I will tell you too, one of the things that we're hearing from the colleges is that they need students who are better able to ask good questions when they undertake to do research. So we're really trying to hone in on that area too.
Not like I just asked then, right? So we teach them not to be afraid to ask a question.
Yes, and again, to ask a question that will help them really do a good job with inquiry in that area, yeah.
Thank you, Sue.
Ron?
Sue, it's going to be a roundabout question. Can you explain to the audience what we're really talking about in layman's terms? What are you hearing from the colleges? What is the problem? And what is the lack of knowledge of the students that are going into college are up against?
Okay.
I think that's really where you're trying to get to, is
Yeah.
as the children get into post-secondary education.
Well, as we have talked with the C3 committee about, we have been hearing more and more concern expressed by the college community and also people in the industry and business worlds, that students are coming to them without what they consider to be the traditional skills of research. that they're seeing kids who can write reports. But when it comes to, again, asking good questions and constructing your own knowledge, colleges are feeling that our students, and I don't mean students from Londonderry, I mean students in general, are not coming with the skills that they need to see, and they're not prepared to remediate for them. So as a consequence, a lot of kids get very frustrated at the college level and struggle. In fact, we sent 2 of our high school librarians to a conference this past spring that was organized by colleges in Massachusetts to talk to the greater school library community about what they can do to get kids better prepared. It was called Your High School Senior Will Be My College Freshman. That was the name of the thing. And again, our colleges are telling us that we really need to help students understand the difference between reporting and doing research, and that research is different for a historian or a scientist or a business person, and that there are different ways to approach those problems. So we have been, for the past year, at the elementary and the middle school levels, we've had 2 study groups very actively looking at a variety of research models and looking at trying to get standard vocabulary among all of us teachers, so that when I say report in my class, I mean the same thing that Mark says in his class. And when I say research, this is what I mean, that we kind of standardize some vocabulary and standardize some approaches, and that we really work with students from actually K through grade 8 in a guided approach to learning how to do research, so that by the end of grade 8, we send them to the high school as independent researchers. And at the high school, in the various content areas, they have a greater opportunity, again, to do the research as a scientist would do it, to do the research as a historian would do it. And this year, as we've already started at the high school, a group is meeting to continue that work and to further make those definitions, and we are conducting some action research in that regard too. So this is what we're trying to do, is create a research process for Londonderry that will assure that the students that we're sending off, whether we're sending them off to the work world or to college, have the ability to be independent researchers.
Ron?
I'm going to ask you another question and kind of lead you a little bit.
Okay.
Plagiarism.
Plagiarism.
I mean, we speak about that, and you see it in the paper showing, coming up here and there on different people. Can you talk a little bit about that, what you mean by that, and what the difference is between, you know, just writing down word for word and the concepts on that? I think that's another thing that we have to reemphasize as we go
You
along
have
here.
to reemphasize it, because it's very, very easy, as we all know, to cut and paste literally off a web page and into our working document somebody else's work and not make appropriate citations. And again, we are hearing from colleges and the business world that people can't be, we know that people shouldn't be doing, and this is why I sang the copyright song today, to the teachers.
That's coming up for those at home.
That would be
But
at
not
the-
yet. It'll be at the end of the meeting.
And actually, our teachers do a great job about being very vigilant about being ethical users and modeling for our kids. But students struggle with plagiarism for a number of reasons, because, and again, this is what we're trying to work with our kids on. Are we not giving them enough time on assignments? Do they not have enough resources on assignments? Because they may feel just the need, because pressed, to cut and paste and not cite something. So again, that's another big emphasis in our benchmarks, to help them understand that they really need to do their work and that they're cheating themselves if they don't do it. So it's a big piece of this.
What about, you know, we talk about cutting and pasting, but plagiarism also takes another view, is taking the ideas, rewording the sentence. Can you expand on that one too?
Yeah.
Also, that's the other part of it, which I think students and parents, I mean, it took me to my graduate year in college to understand the difference between some of this stuff.
Exactly. And we are, again, trying to emphasize that by kind of being diagnostic about our approaches. Just as it's easy for students or anyone to cut and paste. It's easy for us with a few flicks of the wrist at Google to be able to find the exact passage that somebody may have reworded or have cut and pasted. It's very easy for us to do that. So rather than, we're not interested in slam dunking a student who didn't realize that that wasn't okay. Rather, we'd like to use it in a diagnostic way to show that this is what we're talking about, and these are the skills we need you to work on so that that doesn't happen, so that you can cite that source and maybe say, you know, Ron Campo in his study of school boards across America noted, there are ways of using that material, but citing and crediting the original source.
Thank you.
Nate?
Sue, again, for the viewing audience, during your presentation, you mentioned several times action research. In a short, concise way, could you let the audience know about the relationship that you have established at the university level with one of Ben Parker's favorite professors on the action research project and how that has worked?
Yes.
And what some of the where some of it is going, and the fact that it's getting national and international recognition.
We started about 5 years ago to work with Dr. Carol Gordon, who was at that time at Boston University, and she's just this fall accepted position as an associate professor at Rutgers, which is now the #1 ranked program in the country for the work that she is doing. And we have been working on a model where Dr. Gordon mentored our school library media specialists in action research process, which is where teachers or anyone can kind of look at their work practice on a day-to-day basis. And I think sometimes intuitively we understand we can do something better, and we're not quite sure what's misfiring. So it's an opportunity through a proposal approach for teachers to frame a question, you know, why is it that our students don't seem to be understanding the concepts of plagiarism? And then to set out a pathway for collection of data, whether it's through questionnaires or surveys or interviews, to look at that data, analyze it, and to improve your practice. So the school library media specialists, in turn, the model we tried to create was that they would in turn teach this process to their fellow teachers, and that's kind of where we are. We're at a very high level in this 5-year project where the school library media specialists have got this down, and several of our teachers are at the point where they're almost at that level. So it's kind of a ripple effect that we're hoping that we continue to gather teachers to looking at their practice this way so that we can have continuous improvement, but based on our backyard, not a research study that was conducted 2,000 miles away. And it's been very, very rewarding, and Dr. Gordon is certainly sharing her work about the research she's conducted as she's watched us. I know she did a presentation in Australia this past summer for an international community about this project, and it's getting a lot of attention because it seems to be producing results. And I believe we'll be back in October to share some additional information with you and bring some of our action researchers. I know Andy Corey, back there, was able to use some action research that was done by one of our middle school math teachers and share that with, it was the National Association of Middle School Principals. And it was great because in that instance, Trudy Morris, and I believe she'll be one of our presenters in October, and she'll share with you that she had a hunch about something in her classroom environment. She wanted to see if she was correct, and she was surprised by her findings. But it led to a change of practice that improved the mathematics program for kids.
Sue, going back to when you were speaking about research, helping our students develop their skills in research, just like with the reading and the content areas approach that is a thread that informs most all the content areas, I would expect, at least at the high school right now. Can I assume that there's activity going on in terms of teaching research across content areas?
Yes, as a matter of fact, in our strategic plan, our goal is to provide assured experiences at every grade level, 1 through 12, so that students have continuous opportunities to practice the process. Because it's only by doing the research process that you really begin to understand how it works and to get better at it. So we're trying to do that. And again, this also involves a lot of instructional redesign. Again, it's fine to have reports. We want kids to be able to find facts. What is the state bird of New Hampshire? But research would be, why is the purple finch not as visible as it once was? Is there something happening in the environment? That's a research question as opposed to a fact-finding expedition on facts. So those are the kinds of things that we're trying to make those distinctions and to design instruction so that kids have the opportunity to look at those bigger questions.
And are those objectives identifiable across the grade levels and the content areas in the benchmarks, or is it beginning to, are we heading in that direction?
We're at the beginning of the process where we will start to see those integrated into the content areas.
Okay.
I do know in the project that's just underway at the high school, and they spent a day last week, I think it was, the high school library media specialists, they had a math, a science, an English, a social studies teacher, a special educator working with them to begin to look at how can we do this in the context of the disciplines.
Good.
Especially at the high school, I think it's critical to get them ready to go on to some serious study in those areas.
So, okay, so we're in the early stages. We have high hopes and high expectations. It's a bit of a long-term project. I'm going to assume that the colleges are asking for this thing. It's not so much a matter of us or school districts in general losing their way. This sounds more like colleges are realizing this is important. It's additional skills we need to have our students and our graduates equipped with, and let's flow that down so that the students, the young people, are still more properly prepared for a good college experience.
I think it's very much that, but it's also, I think, the fact that technology has changed the way that young people go about gathering information. And again, it got a little easier so that they were putting more focus into the gathering of the information instead of how to use the information to create their own knowledge.
Okay.
And so that's, I think, we're catching up with that now.
That's right. That flow of technology can knock you over if you're not prepared, or used randomly. So there's so much more you can do with it, and you're taking a qualitative approach to how to deal with all that. Good. Thank you.
Ron?
Couple more questions for you, Sue. Going to a bigger picture, the action research, we spoke about this before. Where are these documents located? How can a teacher that's coming into the district, I'm looking, do we have them on computer yet that someone can go get them?
We do not yet, but we are in the process of trying to pull them all together to memorialize this
Yes.
project, as well as to share the data with other people. So we hope to get that done before the year's end. And
Okay.
then to continue to add to that knowledge base, that capital that we are acquiring.
In our graduate program that we run at Londonderry, do we offer a course on action research, or is that part of the curriculum for the teachers to take? And should it be part of the curriculum that we could speak with them, since we seem to have value to it, and it's something that a course, I think, may be beneficial that we offer, since we are developing our own courses as we go here in conjunction with Riviera
It certainly would
College.
be beneficial. I do know that because we have a number of teachers who are working at Riv, that action research is required in a number of the components of the courses that they're taking, but it might be worthwhile to talk to the college about a specific one that would be a model that we could use. We've also talked about whether or not at some point, and I think that this would be kind of, boy, it would be great if we could get to this point where every student who leaves us conducts an action research project.
I believe we need to get there personally, because I believe that is the ultimate part of this, so so the student that leaves Londonderry understanding what is expected, what plagiarism is, so he has a vision as he goes into college.
Yep.
Or into the business world. Next question I had, which I found interesting, especially based on my professional experience, you said we don't use other schools' research project, and that seems like, why wouldn't we almost have a database of different schools that do different research projects? Obviously, you have to evaluate it for its applicability to Londonderry, but it gives you such a wide range of stuff. We call it operating experience where we are. If something happens at another plant, we want to know about it, look at it, evaluate it, and say, yes, that's something we don't want to happen here, or it doesn't apply to us.
If I implied that we don't pay attention to other people's research, I certainly did not mean to. I simply meant to say it's more meaningful for us if we have some data that is homegrown. But we certainly have looked at a number of research projects that have been replicated, too. We're very interested in can this be replicated and can we use it here? So we're very familiar with those.
Okay, I guess the
Fine,
next
use
question, is there a database between the librarians that if Londonderry's doing it, I'm just going to pick 3 schools,
Sure.
Concord and Salem, that the librarians know what's available at each of these districts, so each of the districts can share, almost like an interlibrary loan,
Yeah.
loan period.
I am not aware of that. I am not aware in New Hampshire that anyone's quite doing the stuff that we're doing, but I am aware of some other districts in the country, and maybe it would be worthwhile trying to start a network of people to share that, and we certainly can take a look at it.
I would take a look at it, because I think there
Maybe
may
through
be
one
some
of the
benefits.
professional associations who might be have the wherewithal to help sustain that over time. So we can
Sue,
look at that.
maybe if we contacted Carol.
Yeah, Carol.
She might be aware of other districts that are doing it, and we might be able to share.
We can certainly do that. I'll let myself
I
know.
found interesting your approach to starting this in grade 1. I mean, you had tasks there for first graders to find the copyright page in the book and that type of thing. It reminds me when my children were young, I remember them coming home and telling me, Dad, in school we learned you're not supposed to eat that kind of food. Dad, in school we learned that you're supposed to wear your seatbelt all the time. And wouldn't it be surprising if they came home and said, you're not supposed to their older sister, you're not supposed to link to that photo on myspace.com that might be on somebody else's website because they may own it.
Well, in some of the comments that the students gave us, we got a sense that they were beginning to figure those things out, so they might be coming home saying those things, but.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Continue on, Mr. Blunt.
Thank you. The next item in your board packet is the district benchmark monitoring report. This was provided to the board members at the July 25th board meeting. Just want to comment briefly to the board and to the viewers at home. The benchmark monitoring report basically is given to the school board to indicate the coverage of the benchmarks. So each trimester at the elementary schools and each quarter at the middle and high school, teachers basically self-evaluate. They report to their building administrator the coverage of the benchmarks, and that's what basically the benchmark monitoring report is all about. With that in mind, I do want to mention to the board in the next, once the revised strategic plan comes out, we will begin to move in the direction of common assessments at the middle and high school level. These common assessments will be linked to the district benchmarks, so it will give us a better picture on kids actually learning the material, learning the benchmarks that we have. So that's probably the next step in the evolution of our benchmarks. I'll have information in the next board meeting regarding our assessment data from Dibbles to NECAP to NEAP to Iowa at the next board meeting. But I'll open it up to any questions.
Questions from the board? Paul?
I'm wondering, this is information I think we've been getting for several years, is that right?
That's correct.
Obviously, this is for the benefit of the school board, and this is information to identify coverage of delivery of education as distinct from learning education, which we learn from our various assessments that we use in the district. So this is a tool that helps educate us as to how well benchmarks and content is being covered. Do principals have their own process for tracking, identifying information like this, holes or difficulties in various grade levels or content areas or various classes? What do principals do? I mean, is this useful for them too, or do they have their own system? I don't know if someone can speak
I
to
will
that.
open that up to any principal who'd like to come up.
I see them all.
Ron?
After they finish the question.
That's fine. I thought since they weren't going to answer, you were
No,
going to help them.
No.
Well, to be honest, I don't know how much value this particular report has for us. Our value is what we see every day at the high school, what the curriculum coordinators are doing in the classrooms, our discussions at department meetings. We know prior to this report coming out what teachers might be behind a little bit and not behind a little bit. I think this was a reaction a couple of years ago, and I think it was Mr. Parker who really wanted this. His concern was if a kid was in, now pick a grade, 5th grade, social studies, was the kid in another 5th grade social studies class being exposed to the same material. I think it's safe to say over the years, we are pretty well beyond that now. We have a good feel for what's going on, more so than we did a few years ago. I can tell you at the high school, one of the things that Mark sort of mentioned, and it was sort of unbelievable to me that we didn't have common exams for a common subject. For example, if we have an Algebra 1, I'll just pick that, I'm not saying that was one of them, by one teacher and an Algebra 1 by another teacher, that final exam that that kid takes in January didn't necessarily have to be the same exact exam. Maybe 70% of the questions were the same, and then there were some others. What we're doing at the high school, and it will be implemented pretty much 100%, there's a couple of curriculums we're still changing and working on by this January, and we set this goal over a year ago, that by this January, every subject will have a common exam. So every geometry exam given to a kid at the end of the first semester is the same exam no matter who you have. To me, that's a better way of telling not what was taught, because now the teachers have to obviously cover that, but how well the kids learned it. So if I'm in one geometry class and Mark's in another geometry class with 2 different teachers, we're taking the same exam in January, and we're also taking the same exam in June. That information will be more valuable to principals, teachers, and than this here. In my opinion, I'm not so sure I think this has run its course, my opinion. And I think the good news is it did tell us and teachers that the expectation is you teach what you're supposed to teach and don't skip anything. And I think in 5 years ago, maybe teachers were skipping some things and teaching what they liked rather than what they had to. Not all, just a couple. I think that is gone now. So I think the purpose was useful then. I think it's run its course.
Well, certainly, hopefully, at least in the early days, there was a benefit there. Well, not only did they say, okay, I better make sure I cover this, but also if they found they were having trouble doing that they came forward with that for discussion.
And that happened with some people, and a lot of it happened with teachers who may have been ill for a while and missed some classes, and we had to bring in subs. I remember a couple of years ago, even in Matthew Thornton, we had an issue where we came to the board and said, this class is not going to get the same material covered. We have to do something, and the board and the superintendent reacted and implemented a second person in that classroom to break those numbers down. We will be coming to the superintendent and the board, and I know my fellow colleagues would, well before the end of the quarter, and you get that report, because sometimes it's too late then. So we know what teachers are falling behind for various reasons. It could be illness, it could be a particular group of kids in the class that are just moving along a lot slower. We then look at our resources and shift resources automatically on our own. The superintendent has given us that flexibility to say, okay, if this class is hurting a little bit because the particular group of kids, shift your resources, make sure that this class gets what they need. That's really an important thing.
Right, so certainly putting those benchmarks in place, I think, has really helped this, and the teachers getting used to that and trained in that. To me, I'm most concerned that the teachers, that the principals have a handle on what's going on there, and the principals say, we've got this covered.
I could be honest, Paul, I think it's a lot easier at the high school than it is at the elementary school, being in both. I mean, a high school math teacher who teaches algebra and may have algebra and maybe a geometry class may have, 8 to 10 benchmarks to cover? So those teachers know what those benchmarks are, they cover it, and it's easy for our department people to monitor that. At the elementary level, I bet it's a lot more difficult. I know it's a lot more difficult because they're teaching all the subjects, and some of those benchmarks are, third grade benchmarks, I remember one time, was approaching 100. So that's a lot more difficult to keep track of. At the high school, it's pretty easy. They're very departmentalized. Middle school is probably similar to the high school. Elementary school is certainly a lot more difficult. Pat can probably talk to that. But they have tons of benchmarks because they teach every subject. It really is not as big of an issue at the high school because they are subject-oriented specialists.
I think to add to Jim's point, I think when we speak of the elementary level, I think the introduction of the dibbles that we've had the last couple of years, the use of the Iowa assessments have certainly helped our elementary schools, our teachers, our administrators in directing the services where appropriate to kids. And that was partly because of our results was the introduction of the 3-tier and some of the things that we have been doing at the elementary level.
My recommendation would be the monitoring is probably not as useful, or it probably is not useful much anymore. And once we move into the reports that we're going to give you on common assessments, I think you'll get a lot more meat and potatoes and feel better about the types of things and the information we're giving you.
Ron and then Dan.
I have to agree with you, and I'm sorry, I was going to say, I haven't seen one of these things in 3 years that haven't been at 100%, so the numbers are basically useless now. When you talk about common assessments, how often would we see them at the end of the quarters? Or at the end of the year?
But the
I mean,
high
that's
school-
what I'm saying. If we look at the Iowas, something like that, I get that information now. I guess I'm still concerned after sitting at a couple of the C3 meetings and listening to the conversation about there. I would personally like to see, we use scope and sequence documents. Where are we on scope and sequence? I mean, we've spent a lot of resources as a district to develop these documents for the subjects. That's really where we want to see is, have we reached the scope and sequence that we said we were going to be at the end of the quarter, yay or nay? That's really not, if I've reached this end of the quarter with the scope and sequence, I've covered the benchmarks for that period. So that's where I'd like to see us start going, because we're using that as the guideline for the district and give us a better idea of where we're going on this. This, to me, I agree. We should not waste any more teachers' time filling this out. but I believe the scope and sequence would give the board and the community, because this is not for the board, but it's for the community to show that, hey, we are told you what we're going to teach, and we're teaching what we told you, and if there are problems, then we throw additional resources at it as necessary. So, that's what I have to say.
Dan?
Well, for the sake of a little bit of redundancy, Ben and I were both culprit. There was a class for the board's edification, and if some of us remember, there was a class at the middle school that was in the advanced math track that was so far behind by the fourth quarter that the kids couldn't go on to geometry at the high school. And what the board did, or the direction to the superintendent and the principals at that time, was that we wanted a report in this format. I agree with you. I don't think we're well beyond that. I think that what we wanted to ensure was the curricula was being taught unilaterally or equitably across, and just because, due to the dichotomy of the class at that time, there were certain issues in that particular class that it wasn't particularly the teacher's fault, it was just a number of items, and that's why Ben and I, or Ben or I, addressed this issue, Jim. But I agree with you, and I agree with Ron, relative, and that's for the sake of redundancy, that we're well beyond this. I think the superintendent, and I certainly hope the administration is comfortable enough to come to the board with any issues and ask for the additional resources necessary if in fact there are some mitigating circumstances that puts us in a similar position as about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's the history of it. It was a singular class that came to Ben and I's attention. So.
And I think we do, and, I had an issue my first year at the high school, which was, 2-3 years ago now, and where we had an issue with a particular class and went right to the superintendent. We don't make it public. Superintendent recommended that we do this, and we addressed the issue. And we even offered these kids free tutoring in the summertime to catch up on some of the skills we thought they missed. And that's our responsibility.
One last comment from me. I don't think I need to know. All I need to know as a board is that, what I said earlier, that the curricula is being taught uniformly to all students taking a particular subject matter. That's his job, your jobs. I don't want to pass the buck, but I think at this juncture, I'm willing to just discard this. It basically just tells me that the 100% is being taught to 100%.
I've always been rather perplexed on this particular product of the district office, and mostly because there doesn't seem to be a direct connection between the benchmark and performance. And the real issue is the performance, or the how are the students doing. And I've asked administrators since I've been on the board, but where's the connection? I mean, you can go down the list and check it off and say, yes, you covered it, but where's the connection to what students are doing? I'm sorry to put the elementary school principals on the spot here, but you guys are going to have to discuss between each other. I would just like an opinion from one of you, your feeling on this. Oh, that didn't take much.
The battery's going for the door.
Only because I wouldn't want to slant from just the high school. And Ricor, if you'd like to speak on it, feel free.
Because Mr. Elefante has an article published, I agree with Mr. Elefante's comments. We are certainly in agreement that the document has certainly passed its time. It certainly served a valuable purpose. And I just want to let the board be aware that when we talk about checking off or finding out what teachers are accomplishing in the classroom, a couple of things have stemmed off from the monitoring sheets, i.e. we've taken the benchmarks the last few years, specifically in reading and math, and we've come up with what's called trimester guidelines. So what we've done is we've taken the benchmarks and we've looked and tried to determine what types of, what skills children needed to know at certain points of the year. So was this a first trimester benchmark, a second trimester, or a third trimester benchmark? So that has helped us tremendously to organize our curriculum and also teams working together. And again, we look at our assessments to see how we're performing. We also now are looking at our report cards and utilizing terms from the benchmarks as we look at evaluating kids' progress, it's based specifically on the benchmark. So those are those kids that, if they are not performing, could end up being our Tier 2 or Tier 3 students who then we would provide additional support for in the classroom. As far as what we've done the last few years, our mathematics and reading programs, because we have new programs, it has forced all of our teachers to work succinctly and more so than ever together as teams, covering, getting through, and then looking at our assessments and see where we're at with them. So I do agree that I think this particular model its time has passed and it's time for something else.
And Mark, I know that this was started before you came on board, but the toolkits that we now have available to the teachers post-date this process, is that correct? In other words, they have kits available to them that help them with exactly what they need to cover.
Exactly, Steve. The last 2-3 years, elementary toolkits and middle school is now in the process. We have extensively overhauled the toolkits, and as Rich mentioned, there is a nice scope and sequence, particularly in the areas of reading and mathematics at the elementary schools, toolkits that teachers can really follow along. Pat was on the team that worked on the trimester guidelines for mathematics just a couple of years ago, and they really have proved to be very useful to all of our classroom teachers.
Well, I can imagine that the board, at some time in the future, if they felt that the education was not being presented equally throughout the district, they may feel a need to bring this back. But at this point, do I understand there's a consensus of the board that we can discard of this?
Discarding of this, but I believe there's got to be some reporting back to the board. Our responsibility as a board is curriculum, both the delivery and the results of it. And I believe that is our obligation to hear from the administration. We have delivered all the curriculum, and we've assessed it, and this is the assessment. There's two parts to this. And I believe if we say, no, we don't want to hear anything about this and just get assessments once a year at the end of there with the Iowers and Dibbles at the end, I think we're not performing the function that we are. And I believe we need to have the two parts of the two parts of the process. Yes, we delivered it, and yes, this is the results of it. So this is not the format we should be using. I would expect the administration, in my opinion, to come up with a better format to give us that information.
Making it integral to performance. Paul?
And Mark, shouldn't curriculum mapping, as it evolves, help us do that?
Indeed. In fact, basically, the trimester guidelines are the curriculum maps for the elementary school. And as you saw last spring, when Andy brought to the board the beginning of the curriculum maps at the middle school, that's exactly the tie-in, the connection to what we hope to have in place, the common assessments at middle and high school.
Okay. Are we done with, are we almost done with Mark?
He usually stays all night, but I don't know, there may be a duet.
Before he leaves the microphone, I wanted to ask a question about this. Nate, is this something that you added to our package just for FYI?
Yes. What you have in front of you is a calendar that was developed for the high school. It gives, obviously, all the activities and events at the high school. But in addition to that, Catherine Boziak, who coordinated this with the assistance of the literacy committee at the high school, included every month a whole sequence of literacy strategies. And this calendar went to every teacher at the high school. So it was just another way of reinforcing the reading and the content area work that has been going on at the high school now for about a year and a half, and is continuing to expand. And I wanted to share this with the board because I thought it was extremely well done. Wanted to give Catherine credit for it and members of the Literacy Committee credit for it, because this is, in a sense, a daily reminder and provides instructional strategies and hints for all the teachers in the content areas with additional ideas as to how, in fact, they could implement this in their class, whether it's a history class, a math class, or PE. I think this is excellent too, and kudos to Catherine for doing this. All the teachers have this. You know, a lot of time has been spent presentations to the board and this literacy committee going out and working with the teachers, but this really is actually something just concrete we can get our fingers into and really start understanding. Students do word grids or problem-solving models. This really spells out examples of how we're trying to reach kids and improve their reading skills in all subject areas. So I'm very impressed with this. Just an additional comment too. In September, we'll be giving the board the updated strategic plan, and I think I mentioned this in previous presentations. Although it's a massive document that covers a wide variety of areas, I think as you go through it, what you will notice, what you begin to pull together, is that there are constant strands that run through, so that as we approached, as we met as an administrative group and took a look at data and information and things that were going on, what we're attempting to do, and we're continuing to refine it, is to take a systemic approach to continuous school improvement, so that as you see, where we talk about reading in the content area, it's happening at the high school level and middle school level, it's happening at the elementary level. The idea of the scope and sequence with math going from elementary to middle to high school. So that as we tweak or move or make major changes in one area, we are making every effort to be cognizant of how it impacts programs in other areas. And I think Sue's work here is a perfect example where the action research and the literacy cuts across all areas. So as we move ahead, we look at our approach as systemic, and that as we continue to improve or grow in one particular area, we know it has an impact in another and in another, and we appear to address it. Just as we try to exhibit a little bit of foresight with the toolkits, knowing that we were going to have a shift in our teacher population as people retire, and making sure that we had those things in it. We also included in the trimester guidelines suggested timelines for completion, the support mechanisms in place, and how these things are continuing to evolve. So as you look at it, what I hope you pick up too is the fact that there is a connection among these things, and they're not simply isolated acts that maybe sound good but don't have a connection to something else. But they're systemic in their nature, and they do tie in.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mark, thank you very much.
can we add that to our action item list, what the replacement to the monitoring program is? And have the administration report back to us at some point?
It's, Nate, the time you would need for that?
I'm
What
sorry.
we're looking for is the tying of the benchmark and performance, or to have Mark present back to us a more comprehensive solution other than just the checkoff of these items.
Mark, what would you suggest?
Think about it and get back to
Yeah,
us.
that's fine.
Okay, how about we report back to the board at the next meeting and give you a
date.
timeline on it?
I believe we have in the strategic plan, if I'm right, from both Andy and Jim, we do have a kind of a timeline set out for the completion of the common exams. I think once those are in place, we can begin reporting that information out quarterly or
What
whatever the
I'm
board.
looking for is what's going to take this place, and it's not the common exams, is the results. What is going to be the delivery portion? I'd like something on how are you going to report delivery, or what's the new method of reporting
Well, I
delivery?
think the delivery would be reporting out the results of the assessments. Those are going to be.
I'll get the Iowas in June. But that's when the Irish come out, and I guess that's what I'm looking for. If that's the case, then we don't have to meet at all, just at budget time. Curriculum is the responsibility of the board. And we need to keep getting back the feedback for us and the community on how we're delivering the services to the students and how it's going, and what are the results of that. There's two parts to the picture.
You just said results.
I
and-
said delivery and results. You're going to tell me the delivery with the common exams that you're doing. And I get that now for the most part. I get the Dibbles results, I get the SAT results, I get the Iowas. So I get that part of it right now. It may become more comprehensive if we use a common test. Again, maybe I'm just myself 20% here, but I truly believe that delivery needs to be told to the community and the board.
I would, from the middle school's point of view, looking at it something similar to the computation piece, where we'll be taking a common assessment, breaking that down into sections of which benchmarks are covered there, and then be able to come back with real data on how, a particular grade level did now, not only on what was covered, but what was learned. It'd be similar to the computation test that I present, but now you'd be breaking it down into, let's use algebra for an example.
I think you just hit on it. It's not benchmarks and it's not test results. It's what you learned,
Right.
which is what you're presenting.
Right.
And
And from my point of view, would give grade level results per content area once the common assessments are up and in place. And then further at the school level, we break that down per team and then per team to per teacher, so that I get really usable data of what's going on in each individual class, what each individual team is doing, and then how the grade level is performing and how that relates to the whole school.
let's have Nate get back with us just in the next meeting on plans for the future. Thank you.
Okay.
Next
moving
item.
on? Okay. You have sitting in front of you a CD. I've been given instructions by my boss to provide you with the following information. The school board policies have been placed on a CD for each board member. Some of the policies dated back to 1977, when there were no copy machines, just mimeographs and carbon paper. It has taken the efforts of many people to update and reformat these policies. We'd like to extend thanks to Beverly Robichaud, Carol Marsh, and Linda Kuchar. A special thanks to Laura McAdam, who, along with the guidance of Anita Trailer, compiled the policies to make one document. Also want to extend my great appreciation for Connie McGinnis and all the work that she has done on this. The introduction tells the user that this document is not complete, nor is it meant to be. It is a living document. Policies are constantly being reviewed and revised, or new policies are adopted by the board as warranted by current issues. It's our intention to update the disc periodically. As this is our first attempt, we welcome constructive criticism. We'll have the policies available on the website tomorrow, and CDs will be distributed shortly to all libraries and main offices. Also, too, may be helpful to note that by using the benchmarks on the left in the Adobe document, the book will become a little less cumbersome for the user, i.e. Section J is for students. By selecting Section J, the user can go directly to that section. So when you take this home, you can put it in your machine, in your computer, and play around with it. And any suggestions that you have, we'll be more than happy to take. Also, tomorrow, for members of the audience, this will be up on our website, so if someone is interested in seeing student policy, drug and alcohol abuse, whatever, they will be able to access that on our district website. There you go. And I want to thank all those people that I had mentioned, plus Connie. I mean, this was a monstrous task, And they spent a lot of time on it, and I believe they did a very nice job. And I want to thank them for all their efforts.
Paul?
So Nate, we've got about 10 pounds of policies in our homes, each of us. Is there any need, do you want that back, or?
If you would like to bring that back to us, that would be fine. I would suggest, though, that you might want to hold on to it, because we're not going to update this every time we do a new policy. We'll do it periodically. So as for instance, the policy that you're gonna adopt tonight, we took the liberty of putting that in the CD already, assuming that since we had first and second readings and there was no problem with it, we just assumed it would go. But if we were to adopt a new policy 3 weeks from now, I don't think we'd probably do this like every 6 months to update it, so.
Okay, but we don't have anything at home in hard copy that's,
You don't have on the disc.
Okay.
That's absolutely correct. So if you want to bring in the book and then have a little binder with policies that we adopt from October to January before we give you a revised disc, that'd be easy.
oh, okay, that's great. That's certainly yeoman's work. That was a lot of effort put into that. And hopefully, going forward now, it'll be a lot easier to maintain and more efficient to maintain than dealing with the paper. So that's great.
Absolutely.
Can I at some risk, ask the question, not in terms of jumping out and doing this, but since this has been done with the school district policies, is something like this applicable, for instance, to the strategic plan?
You will get the strategic plan on disc. I think last year did we give it to you last year on disc too?
Yes.
Oh, did we?
So we'll give it to you, we're gonna give it to you two ways. We'll give it to you in paper, and we'll give it to you on disc. All right, so whichever you feel more comfortable with.
Okay.
And,
Good.
because we color code by years and so on, you may decide that you want all of the blues together, or you may want to divide them out by years or by objectives, however you want to do it. So we give it to you both. We'll give it to you both ways. So you can have it on a disc and also have it on paper. So that's no problem.
Ron?
Peter, I had asked you previously several times. I'm just wondering, now that we've got this in a format on a CD, can we develop a desktop guide for school board members on the stock that we were able to call in as static information, so I'm not getting into anything like Win School or anything like that, that I can call up something and I can have the strategic plan there, the policies, the enrollment numbers, and there's a half a dozen other documents. Instead of having a briefcase with that much paper in it, I can go there if I want to look at the last 3 or 4 years, 3 or 4 months of student enrollments at a particular school. I'm able to call it up myself and play with that information. I think it's possible to do. I don't have to get into the computer system of the district that the board doesn't have to get in there. Just be over there. They're all static information I'm looking for.
Yeah, the answer is yes. It's on our docket to get done. With the changing of the network administrator, we kind of fell behind a little bit. But I would see that, I don't see that we couldn't get it at least done by the end of September, or at least something to show you and tell us if we're on the right path or not.
I would appreciate it, and I think other board members would appreciate that, just to have it, because if I can put it on there, then now these discs are not going to become antiquated after we do the next policy 2 weeks from now. And that way we can update that, the webpage gets updated, and we're updated right away.
No, that's been on the docket, it's opening of schools, and then as the flow of work gets done, opening of schools, this is one of the first ones on the page to tackle.
Excellent, thank you.
Other questions from the board? Thank you, Nate. We'll take a look at it and let you know how it looks.
Next item up, Jim Elefante wrote an article for New Hampshire Journal of Education. And he didn't give me credit for the title there. Copyright infringement, Elefante. Oh, there you go. Yes, you did. That's great. That's right. But I put it in the board packet because I thought Jim did a great job in summarizing the efforts that have been made at the high school in the last couple of 3 years and the programs that we've put in place. And I just wanted to share that have Jim be able to share that with the board to show that now this information is out. It's out on a statewide basis, and also so that you guys can pat yourselves on the back, because the stuff that's in here is stuff that you guys supported and allowed us to put in place. And so there it is. It's a nice, very concise way of outlining the programs at the high school. Nice job.
Do I hit webpage? Sue? I think it's an excellent article.
I think might have copyright issues.
I think,
But you could take a snippet and link to their webpage if they have it on. Ask permission.
yeah, I just think it is an excellent article, and I think it'd be nice on the webpage
They
for a
may,
period
they may
of time.
authorize us to reprint it if you ask. Republish it.
Great. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt policy IIAC, instructional materials and library collection development for third reading.
Second.
First from Dan, second from Ron. Discussion on third reading to amend library materials. So do you want to step forward and give a very brief?
Then let's make any changes.
I was gonna, yeah, I know. Give a very brief overview and before we throw our CDs out.
No, it's in the CD.
No, he said it was updated.
Well, that's my
It-
point. If we
it'll
don't
change it.
approve it, what
Well,
value
no,
are
but it
these?
arrived with the computers.
The board was asked
Right, the same day as the
to
computer.
consider changes to update this policy, which covers the selection of school library and instructional materials because of the fact that our school library media center catalogs for all of our schools are now web-based and therefore visible to the world at large, and the policy is being updated to ensure that any requests for reconsideration for materials, either in our instructional collections or in the library collections, are limited to Londonderry residents.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just had to catch Marty Bove before he left. Marty Bove is our town council liaison, and he was slipping out, but I did want to bring up the point. Marty attended and toured us with us on all of the school tours and building tours, and I just wanted to say that we really appreciated that. And I think that it's extremely helpful that the town council went on those tours and had a chance to see all the space. So, but now I'll let you sneak out without anybody knowing. I didn't mean to bring that
With about 2 minutes.
slip out. Yeah, we're towards the end anyways, but if you rush home, you'll get a chance for Sue's, to listen to Sue sing. Okay. Thanks again, Marty. Sorry about that. Sue, do we have questions from the board? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we accept the temporary administrative arrangements as set forth in policy CI.
Second.
First by Ron and second by George for temporary administrative arrangements. Nate, I know my first year on the board, I was confused with these. Can you just give a brief explanation of why
Yes.
this is done?
Yes, we have it in case an administrator is out of the building, so for instance, if I'm out of district for whatever reason and an issue comes up that should be normally addressed by the superintendent, we have a chain of command where Mark would be the one that would respond, in essence, fill in for me. We have the same sequence in each of the schools where if in fact the principal was out, who would be next in charge in chain of command. And so we have this, our policy requires that we provide this to the board and requires that we have this in place to allow for effective functioning.
May want to put your name on the list.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, okay, as amended. There you go.
So we have an amendment to the district list, and Nate's at the top.
Yeah, he forgot himself.
Any other discussions?
Eight.
We have a contract with our superintendent, so he can't get off that easy.
There you go.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we go in non-public session under RSA 91A3, Section 2, A through F.
Oh, we can have a musical interlude first?
Oh, no, oh, yeah, wait.
For those of you at home, I'm sorry, but I've already got a motion in a second, so we'll be unable to have that
Next week.
song. All in favor?
Aye.
Steve Young, thank you.
And Sue thanks you.
Sue, thank you.